Hi, hello, this is Ahmed from FKP Institute of AI. Welcome to time series forecasting sessions, part 1 and session 3. So far, we have learned few date time and visualization functions, and we have seen two basic moving average methods to understand the natural value of the given business KPI. In this session, we are going bit into deeper and starting from understanding what is time series and its components. To forecast the time series data, understanding each component's variations throughout the time to be studied, right? In this direction, we are going to extract its components by using a few engineering formulas like Hardrick-Prescott filter and seasonal decomposition. These are the famous and widely used um, methods to extract the components from time series. In this session, we will be learning HP filter and how to code it, and how to visualize it, and how to interpret the results. And in the coming session, we will be learning about seasonal decomposition. Let's go to the slide. What is there in this session? Okay. So here we are going to understand more about time series. What is time series data? Data which has observed time series data, meaning which has observed values of one or more variables with time indexed. Okay, what is time series analysis? Time series analysis is a combination of methods. Okay, we should have a toolkit, to extract meaningful statistics and other characteristics of the data. Once we perform the time series analysis, once we understand the character of the data in the time series, then we can go forward for forecasting, right? So before going into time series forecasting definition, and we will see about time series types. Time series, there are two types in it. One is univariate time series, the second one is multivariate time series. In univariate time series, we will be having one independent variable, and that is time indexed. Let me show you here it is, the time, temperature which is bounded at this particular, observed at this particular at the time, this particular time intervals. And in case of multivariate time series, we will be having more than one independent variable like temperature, cloud cover, dew point, humidity, wind, which are all observed at this particular point of time. So when we come to the time series forecasting, it majorly depends on what kind of time series it is, whether it is a univariate or multivariate. In case of univariate time series, the predictions are majorly based on the previously observed values. We will find out how they are related, the previous values, and based on that we will do the forecasting. And in case of multivariate time series, we will be using the same step here. We will be understanding how basically for the variable which we are using, which we are going to predict values for it, we will be observing how the previously that particular variable is related to itself throughout the previous times, and at the same time how it is related to other variables in the given data, how it is depending on other variables. So based on two things, multivariate time series forecasting methods will go on. Okay, when we come to the applications of time series, we have huge and there are a lot more. So I have listed few here. Example: stock market analysis, economy forecasting, inventory analysis, budgetary analysis, Kansas analysis, and website traffic, and demand analysis of, in supply chain, and daily weather forecasting and sales forecasting for the e-com or retail business. Now we are going to learn what are the components of a time series. Majorly we have 4 components. One is trend. So trend everybody knows, like by looking at the time series we can observe the direction it is moving, whether it is going upwards or it is going downwards. So trend is a component which can be noticed as a moving direction on a time series. And the second component is seasonality. Seasonality, it's a pattern that repeats over regular intervals. Seasonality can be observed within a year during holidays or weekends, etc., etc. Every business may have different seasons for their business. Example, if you take the Goa tourism, for them the season is from November to February. In case of clothing business in India, we have a lot of festivals throughout the year. So the season for clothing sales throughout the year is different. I mean, we have a lot of seasons throughout the year. Third component is cyclic. Cyclic meaning we cannot easily understand on the time series, but the meaning of this cyclic component is there is some change on the time series, but it doesn't have, we don't have defined reoccurrence when it is going to occur again. Example, recession, effect of this coronavirus. So because of this coronavirus, all the business got impacted, right? So we cannot tell this kind of situation when it affects the business, right? We cannot look at our eyes the cyclic component on time series. Okay, so it may it happens once, and its reflections on the time series we can observe. But until unless that shock we see in the graph, if we don't have that shock in the given data, we cannot observe this cyclic component. Okay, this cyclic effect can span for a shorter period, or it can go longer. The fourth component is irregular component, or we can say residual. In layman term, we can say it's a random noise. It starts with basically it starts from small term fluctuations, and it will basically, like, you'll see, like, all the time, like it's in case of retail business, or if you take any business will not go same day, same sales, same amount of sales won't happen, right? Sometimes we'll sell more, sometimes we'll sell less. That is called residual component. The error between normalcy of the business happens. Okay, so this irregular component we majorly can identify due to scarcity of resources due to floods, earthquakes, strikes in the area where we are selling our goods, and there may be some other political reasons. So they may be, most probably these residual components are happens short term. So when the situation gets restored, so automatically we will find like a very small in numbers of this particular component on time series. Okay, here is the time series, and we are going to observe like what are the components we have seen in the last slide here. So you can see here trend is going upwards here, right? And you can see in the mid of each year, you will see the clear seasonality. And as I told, the cyclic component, the residual component, we cannot observe with our eyes. It requires mechanisms to extract that components out of the time series data. And basically, like this particular graph belongs to, I have downloaded this from Kaggle, and this data, what the graph I'm showing here, it is related to airline passengers data from 1954 to 1961. Okay, now let's go to the next slide. So this is the basic question when we go for interview. Why can't we use a regression model to analyze, to forecast a time series data? So we cannot use it, but we can use it in some cases. The main hazard, main point which is stopping not to use regression model for time series data, for time series forecasting, is auto-regression and seasonality. Auto-correlation. What basically, like when we are building the regression model, we'll check is there any correlation among the variables we have taken. If there is like a high correlation among the features, we are removing one out of them, because it affects the model predictions. It creates the multi-collinearity problem, because all the features should be independent and they should decide the variable which we are going to predict. That is the concept of regression model. But whereas in time series data, it is different. We are basically depending on the relations between data types, data points of the same variable in the past. Right? That's why we have to have some different models other than regression. And other important point which stops us not to use a regression model is seasonality. We cannot draw the best fit line if we have this component in the time series data, right? If we have the seasonality, sometimes business is go on peak, and sometimes we have low season for my business. I cannot draw a best fit line. Okay, I can draw, but the thing is, like I may not get reliable results. I cannot get consistent results if I use the regression models, because it violates the rules of regression model. One is like autocorrelation, and the other one is seasonality. And to predict time series data, we use auto regression models. Instead of a regression model, we use auto regression models. It has the advantage of likely fitting the data much better than straight line, and we more likely reliably link the present sales to the past sales than just passage of time. So if this auto auto regression model is the term is confusing, the one which is in the green color in my slide, and forget about this particular model, forget about these particular lines, and we are going to discuss in the session number 7. Okay, I am jumping on the next slide. So, Hardrick-Prescott filter. So far we have seen two smoothing methods. One is rolling and expanding, we have seen, right? And in the similar way, we have Hardrick-Prescott filter. It is also a smoothing technique, but the main objective of this HP filter is extracting the components, what we have discussed, extracting trend and cyclic component from our given time series. Understood? So, the time HP filter helps us to remove short-term fluctuations, and so that it reveals the long-term trend in a given time series. Okay, let me summarize. HP filter, the main objective is extracting the trend component out of our time series plot or time series data. And due to this, we will get one additional benefit, that is our plot will not be having short-term fluctuations, and we will see long-term trend of our business we can observe. Okay, so HP filter, it separates a time series into trend component and cyclic component. So where is then season? Where is then residual? Okay, all are falling into this bucket, cyclic component. Okay, the term which used in the HP filter is cyclic component for seasonality, for cyclic thing, and for residual component. Trend is separate. So basically HP filter is used to extract the trend series, trend from the time series. Okay, and let's go to its formula and the way it works. Okay, HP filter separates trend component and the cyclic component from our given time series. So you can observe here, this is the time series YT, and this is a trend component, this is a cyclic component. It includes all seasonality, the cyclic component, and residual, plus some error term. Okay. So here CT, in a cyclic component, when we remove trend component from given time series, we will get like approximately cyclic component out. Okay. So from the whole time series, if I do minus of the trend, if I remove the trend out of it, so what remains on the time series? Only cyclic component and some random noise, right? So people often get confused with the cyclic component. Cyclic component here HP filter, when I use cyclic in term during explaining Hardrick-Prescott filter, think that it has all the components except trend. Okay. So this HP filter uses this particular formula. So in this particular formula, you can observe M is it denotes the number of samples in the time series, and you can see here lambda. Lambda is called smoothing factor. Okay, so these are the recommended values when we are dealing with quarter data. You need to put 1600 and 6.25 when you are dealing with the yearly data, and when you are dealing with daily data, you need to use this particular value. When you are coding for HP filter. So when you look at the first component, when you look at the first sum, so what the first sum does is The first sum minimizes the cyclic component, and the second sum, what it will do is it will minimize the second order difference of a trend component, second order difference. So this is the formula which is Hartwig-Prescott has discovered to extract the trend component out of the time series. So here you can observe like second order, meaning we are starting from time period second to m minus 1 when we are dealing with the trend component when we are. So this particular formula, it's not a formula, you can say it's a kind of a objective function. So in this particular HPE filter algorithm, what happens for a given time series, this particular function will be minimized. His algorithm, what it does is it tries to minimize the value of this particular function. In the trial, minimizing the value for this particular function for a given each time at each you can say time period, we will be getting trend out of it. So that's why we call objective function, not just a function. Objective function is something which you will try to minimize. When you are trying to minimize the value of this particular function with the value of variable at a given time point, you will get the trend value and cyclic value out. So that is how this HP filter works. And when we say like objective function, it uses penalization method. Okay, so I think you got the picture how HP filter works. Okay, let's go to its coding. So here I have taken two sets of data to observe the outcome of HP filter, and one is like a closing stock price and volume file, and other one is airline passengers data. And to implement this HP filter, we have a class in stats models. TSA is a class, and within that, like we have filters, and then we have a class HP filter out. In that, like we have a function HP filter. Okay, so using this particular one, what we can say, we can just apply this. We can just call this HP filter, and here it is, HP filter, and you give your feature on which you need to find the trend and cyclic components, and you should give the lambda value. When you are dealing with the daily data, you need to give this value. When you are dealing with like a quarterly data, we need to give 1600, but here it is a monthly I am dealing with, but I am still giving 1600 just to show the example. When you are dealing with the monthly data, you need to do experiments, which gives like a more smoothing value over the more smoothing curve of the trend. That you need to do some experiment, or you can choose some alternative models. Okay, but widely people use the HP filter, and even though they are dealing with monthly data, and they do some experiments and like how much smoothing they want in their trend term. Okay, so there will be some standard figure, okay, for every time series analysis for every company. So they follow that. Okay, they do experiment once, and they use for all the other projects. So let's jump on the Jupyter Notebook and to try this. So here what I am doing, I am studying the file, and basically like a HP filter returns two values. One is a trend component. The other one is like cyclic component. I am assigning those two values, adding it to the data frame, and I'm trying to plot. I'm trying to plot, let me plot the original data, original series, and its a trend component first. Here it is. See, this is the trend. This is the trend of inventory stock data. Okay, and let's draw its cyclic component. See, here is the cyclic component. Okay, and it includes all seasonality also extracted, and it put all the residual and the random noise, total thing in the cyclic component, and the rest is in trend. Okay. Let me do the same thing with airlines data. I'm going to draw a plot with the feature what I'm taking, but I'm trying to study, and the trend component. Okay, this is the first graph. Yeah, this is the second graph. See, this is the trend of airline passengers data, and let's observe here. This is the trend data, and let me print. Let me remove this from here. Let me plot. Okay, so when we come to cyclic component, the 0 is the trending, I mean it takes the trending term as a base. Okay, so it will be from 0. I mean, think that at the 0 point you have the trend line. You have the trend line. Okay, so let's go to the original. Yeah, see here, this 0 you take it as, you take it as 0 as a trend line in this particular graph. Okay, see, 0 is not there at all in this particular graph, right? But how come 0 on cyclic plot, cyclic component plot? So what it does, it has taken this trend line as a 0 base, and from there the seasonalities and the cyclic components you see, and those were drawn on the basis of a trend component. Okay, so it is going in the middle, so that's why it has broken here. It is 0, and it is like upper value, and it is like it's bottom value. When the data which is the downside of the trend, it will be denoted in the minus, and the data which is the value which is on top of this particular trend line, that is shown in the shown in positive side of this particular graph. Okay, so what is the value here? Think that I have 500. I have 500, and and here think like how much the value of this particular point, maybe it's a 500. You can think at this particular time like the value here, the value of the trend point where I'm showing, it has 500. The rest may be 150, right? The rest may be 150 or approximately 150. You can see that 150 here at zero base, from 0 150. So that's where that's how like it become like five maybe 650 or 600. I think you are now okay to uh, interpret this graph. Okay, so that's all for this particular session, and in the coming session we are majorly going to discuss about the seasonal decomposition, and we are going to visualize it and trying to interpret the results of seasonal decomposition. And after that we are going much deeper into the into our syllabus, and it will be fun and at the same time challenging. And stay tuned. And there is one request that yeah, if you like this video, and you please subscribe my channel, and your comments are very valuable to me to improve the way I teach, and it gives me it will encourage me to do more videos. Okay, so I am looking forward for your feedback, and I will be happy if you subscribe, because I am sure that I am going to make a lot more videos on data science, and surely it will help you for your career. And you can refer my videos to improve your skills. Okay, so I am waiting for your feedback, and thank you very much for this watching this video, and stay safe and enjoy.